Tohono Nation. Welcome to another segment of our show. I certainly hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. I know I did. I probably put on a few more pounds leading up to Christmas. Again, pretty more pounds, but I certainly appreciate those that have been tuning in to our YouTube segments. And so just letting you know, this will be our last show of the year. So we're looking forward to exciting new year of new segments, new information, new interviews. I already have some people lined up in regards to sharing, giving you more information and sharing what you need to know or anything that's exciting out there. Today I have a number of people here with me today, and as you know, some of you and probably some of your family members use these companies, and they are the non-emergency medical transportation that have been on the nation for a number of years, particularly with these two companies that have been on the nation for probably almost 5 years now. There was a notice from the nation that there was selection made of 5 companies that only can be allowed to operate on the nation, and those that use excess billing. So if you weren't aware of it, it is a public announcement. So I thought I'd share with you leading up to why I'm doing the interview with this particular two companies that have been on the nation for a number of years. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce two managers of, and the two companies are I Group Transportation and also I Hope Transportation. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. So with me to my left are two drivers, and I'll go ahead and have them introduce themselves, and then all the way to the end, and maybe can go ahead and introduce yourself and just mention what district you're from.
My name is Fernandez Serpicio. I'm from Commonwealth.
Okay.
Diana Jose from Pacifico.
My name is Javier Gallegos. I'm the manager, I Group Management Department.
My name is Roberta Ramon. I am I Hope Manager. I come from Gauchi District.
My name is Jessica Lopez. I'm from Gauchi District.
My name is Angela Antonio, and I come from Sonoma District.
My name is Wayne Lopez Jr. I come from Savoy District.
Okay, welcome everybody. I certainly want to thank you for accepting our invitation to be on our show. I know that it's been a challenge for you as far as not being not being selected as one of the to provide services to our Autumn. And I just want to go ahead and give a small summary of your company, and also how long you've worked for the company. And I'll go ahead and start off with Roberta. So Roberta is she's with I Hope, and so she is the current manager of I Hope. So I'm going to give her some time in regards to kind of giving you some background as far as the summary of the company. And just letting you know that I Hope, and I didn't know this till I was having some side conversations with Roberta, is that I Hope is a big company. And they have contracts with Navajo Nation, they have contracts with Hopi, and I believe they have contracts with White River. And that says a lot for a company, because Navajo is pretty stringent as far as their ordinances and who they allow to run around in the nation and transport their people out there. So I'm sure the other tribes are as well. So I thought I'd just kind of throw that in for your information, because I think that's important to know that I Hope it's not a company by itself, but it's a bigger company as far as serving other tribes, not just the Tohono Nation. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Roberta. Roberta?
All right. So, like I said before, my name is Roberta Ramon. I'm the manager here at I Hope. I started with I Hope 3 years ago as a driver, and within that time I moved up in my position. I became a dispatcher, then now the manager here. So I Hope Transportation actually started in 2011 as a volunteer with the Raul family. They volunteered services for some of the elders in what was in the Tucson metro area. And then in 2012, they received their access license. And then they got a license on the Dene Nation and Hopi Nation. So that's actually where the company first started transportation. They didn't come to the nation until 2014, and they only had 2 drivers then. So within that time frame, we've now have a total of 24 drivers, and we have 3 office staff here. Everything happens here in this office. We do all our everything, paperwork, billing, everything happens here. Nothing. The only thing that goes to Tucson is our records.
Okay, thank you for that. Then now we have iGroup. iGroup is based out of Tucson. They also have I think Javier here is a new manager, if I'm correct.
Correct.
So he's been put in charge of, sometimes you got to make change in the companies in order to make it more proficient or make it more better, or just bringing more better management to the business. And the business, of course, those that know something of business, you got poor customer service. Of course, if you're trying to make a profit, of course, if you have a poor manager, that's not going to happen. So Javier is new to iGroup, and so I'm going to turn it over to Javier and kind of give us a background on iGroup.
Thank you, Bill. My name's Javier again, and I've been with iGroup for four months, and this is my first time actually doing this kind of work. I used to do property management before this, and it's interesting how I ended up here. I used to manage a property where the owner used to live, and years later he came back and asked me to manage his company, and I told him I had never done this kind of work, and so he basically said, look, if you manage my company the way you manage the apartments and the way you manage the people on the apartments, my company's going to do good. And it was humbling for me, because for me, I'm more of a people person, and so I was honored to do that, and I was up for the challenge, and this has been interesting. I've been learning a lot. Roberta has even been indirectly teaching me a lot without even realizing it. But anyway, a little bit about the company. We started in 2009, and we are currently in Tucson, which is our home base, and we are in Cells. We are also in northern Arizona, which is the Navajo Nation. We're also in Parker, Arizona, and we were the 3rd company to actually come out to Cells, Arizona. In the past 3 years that we've been here, we've been approved for 9,442 approved trips and 644,199 total miles. And these are approved trips. We also have about 1,000 miles, or excuse me, 1,000 trips that we have not been paid for, that we've had some issues with. But we have faith that we're going to get paid for those. However, the main point I'm wanting to make in this is that we're here for the people, and not, if we don't get paid, then so be it. The most important thing is the people.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I know to run a company, as particularly in this area of business, as far as transportation, or any other transportation company, taxi cabs, Uber, of course, you're going to need drivers. Mm-hmm. And one of the echoes for the nations and throughout the many years, or even before it, is the subject or the discussion of hiring Autumn. So that has been echoed through our business enterprise, our gaming enterprise, and other areas of business. Okay, let's hire Autumn. Let's make them managers. And certainly, but also to just kind of add on that, Javier has a liaison, which is not here today, couldn't join. He's Autumn, and You can say.
Happens to be his birthday today too, so.
Okay, so he's out celebrating his birthday, so I guess you want to come and share some of his cake. So, and that his name is
Philip.
Valentine,
Valentine, and he's from
Pisinmo.
Pisinmo district. So Philip Valentine is kind of the liaison based out here on the nation. So, and it's good to have Autumn that do understand, the some of the challenges that, of course, we as Autumn, we know ourselves, so we know some of our own challenges that you feel more comfortable being having somebody that understands Autumn. But sometimes may not speak Autumn, but still they're Autumn. Hiring Autumn, and I know I have talked to Berta here, and all our drivers are Autumn, if I'm correct.
Yes, we do hire. We don't just hire just Autumns. We have non-Autumns, but majority right now, all our employees are Autumn. They do come from all over the reservation.
Can you name a few of those districts?
We have Chickacook District, of course, Sales District. We have Sipoidak District, Pisinmo District, Hikiwan District, Guachi District, Stickdwalk, Gua'o. I believe that's pretty much majority of the drivers in those areas. Our biggest drivers come from Pisinmo District. I believe I have 5 people in that area. They don't necessarily live in Pisinmo, but they live in their district areas.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the important thing is that that your company is providing employment to Autumn particularly, but also non-Autumn as well.
Yeah.
And but at least that a high percentage of your employees are Autumn,
Yes.
which is good.
Yes. Right now, we're the total of us are all Autumn. We're all Autumn based right now. Not only here, but we do also have the office in Tucson, and those are Autumn drivers and staff that's there in our office. So we do have a couple members from the Santa Fe district as well too.
So Javier, how many Autumn do you employ?
So about 75% of our employees are Autumn. And about 80% of our employees are Native American, just because we're also including the Navajo.
Okay.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's what I forgot to include, is that not only, like I mentioned, that you're operating in other tribes, is that probably Navajo. Majority of your drivers are Navajo.
Yes, we do.
I mean, I know you don't work out there, but
well, actually, we do have meetings with them and Flagstaff. So
I see.
I do interact with the Danae's part of our transportation. So I do know the drivers. My phone, the phone number we have, it's for the statewide. So everybody that calls that 800 number goes directly to my phone. So I have direct contact with our Danae and the Hopi tribe as well. So I know the drivers, and they're all Navajo from all the different parts. We have 2 different sections of Navajo drivers, one in the Chikai area, Four Corners area, and then one near the Winslow area.
I know, Javier, you just started, and you're familiar with the company, and you mentioned that you have also contracts in Navajo and also Parker, and serving that community. But I think you wanted to expand out there in Parker as well.
We actually
Or do you?
We do have a license for Parker for crisis, and also in the Yuma area, because we also have the license with Simpatico. So we do a lot of traveling to Parker and to Yuma. I think Wayne here has done several trips to Yuma and Parker, maybe 3 in one weekend, I believe it was just a few weeks ago. So we do go out into those parts of the reservation.
Well, at my age, I hate to drive now. I know when I was Wayne's age. At Wayne's age, let me drive. Let me get this car and drive. And so, I think it's good for to have drivers who are I've learned through the years that sometimes you need a job, but sometimes you got to love your job. But it doesn't mean that you're going to stick with that job, but you can find opportunities there, And like yourself, you started off as a driver and became manager and a dispatcher as well. Javier, you mentioned you were a people person. I think it's important for everyone here, as far as drivers, is that you have some communication skills as far as how to, I think some of us understand how to talk to them. If we live out here and we kind of have some idea, particularly in your area, well, this is how, those people in Pisimo talk. I know how to talk to them. I'm familiar with that area. So-and-so, I know she'll get mad if we're late, things like that. Or you kind of familiar yourself with your customers or your clients. So you have to have some kind of communication skills as far as, or even love to be around people. And I think that says a lot. Even more so if you love people, then maybe you can go expand your career into social service or other areas of driving. Javier mentioned miles. There's a lot of miles. So let's talk about your vehicles. There's always challenges if you're in transportation as far as vehicles, and how do you maintain your vehicles? Well, that's the key. Driver's vehicle. If your vehicles ain't running, then of course you can't get paid if your vehicle's down. So let me ask you, Roberta, tell us about your vehicles.
So our vehicles, the maintenance is required. It's one of the requirements for the drivers. They're required when they get hired. They do orientation, and one of their things is that their vehicle maintenance. They're required to do a vehicle maintenance every Monday. It's a sheet they go through. There's a lot of stuff on there. I just tell them, I know you don't know everything, but our key things are oil changes, tires. Always look at your tires, and because it becomes the responsibility of the driver, because this is their source of income, their source of how they're going to make their paychecks. And I always tell my drivers, I'm going to get paid regardless if you're working or not. So if your car is out of commission, you're not going to get paid. So their responsibility for that. When they're due for oil changes, we usually set up on a weekend. We have two groups. We have the main group, which is the sales area, and then the southern part of the nation, and then the northern part of the nation. They'll all go to Tucson, usually to Walmart, do the oil changes. We do have a contract with a couple of mechanics in the Tucson area. If they need further than just the oil change, that's where we'll set up those appointments. But then the west side and the north side, we set up theirs for the Casper and Walmart to do their oil changes. And then again, we do have contracts with different vendors in Tucson where if they need tires, we send them up for tires. And so we do have a database that we keep here at our office. Like I said, everything's handled here at the office. When we record, just recording for any kind of services done to the vehicles, as far as the oils, the windshield, stuff like that, because the terrain out here is really bad. It's not like Metro, where it's not you're have all these things, potholes and cattle, and
Right.
Sometimes washes, and even though they're instructed not to go through the water, somebody fills their Aquaman and they're going through that water, and we lose bumpers. It's not like they're. We occasionally have vehicles that need extra work.
Right.
So.
And that's always going to be a challenge as far as vehicles. Even your personal vehicle.
Yeah.
It's really up to you to how you maintain it. But I think it's good to note and to share with our viewers that there is some importance of your vehicles, and to understand, it's your drivers just don't jump in the vehicle and put in gas and not change the oil. There has to be some responsibility. I think there's probably some responsibility on some of your drivers that, I think you mentioned there was a maintenance log or a document there with your drivers, that a checklist, so to speak, in regards to, tire pressure, because tire pressure is important too as far as your gas, and also gas. Of course, without gas you're not going anywhere. So I think it's important, and If we're getting into the other question, so I'm gonna turn it over here. I know Javier, again, going back to you're just new to the company. So your impressions of your current vehicles on the nation, and you're probably looking at some new ideas to, that your own thoughts as far as, since you have managed apartment complex, which of course is, your people that live there, of course there's some maintenance to it as far as your apartments, but also your vehicles, you're just getting in that, doing an assessment of your vehicles and what needs to be done. Do they need replacement? Do we need new tires? I mean, there's of course tires, batteries, all those things that are essential to the vehicle to get it going, other than, oil change. And because obviously oil changes, since you're running these vehicles, of course oil change is going to be very important. Can you share that, how you're looking at your vehicles?
So we do service the vehicles we try to do it around the 3,000 mile mark for oil changes. And what we normally do is we try to buy newer vehicles and then retire the older vehicles as they come. We're also implementing, we're going into like a new lease option where we're getting some vehicles and we're kind of flowing them around in that sense. The other thing that we do is we normally like to have 1 or 2 vehicles ready on standby, so that if something does go wrong with one of our vehicles, what we'll do is we'll basically or that person will call us, tell us, explain the situation, and we'll have them trade out that vehicle, get their vehicle repaired, and when they take it to the shop, they also do a inspection of the vehicle, make sure that everything is running the way it should be, and then we give it back to the driver and have them bring back their trade out the vehicle, the loaner, if you will.
Now, what kind of responsibility do you put on your drivers as far as vehicles, as far as your, general, like, I hope has a...
Yeah, so every Monday they also have to check their vehicle, make sure that all the fluids are topped off, check the tires and everything else, and just pretty much everything. And if they're using, so even when they take it into the shop, they'll also make sure that a lot of this stuff is taken care of. But for the most part, same, very similar, every Monday.
Yeah, and I think it's good for reviews to understand that both companies, that their main tool is their vehicles as far as making money, and there is some maintenance procedures that both have. I mean, you got to have those in place. You made a comment as that some of your drivers go through a wash, which I think that's probably something. I guess the question would be, if your drivers are abusing your vehicles, their personal vehicles, have you had any case of that where your drivers are abusing your vehicles, and so there has to be some reprimand or something like that? I mean, obviously, you go into a wash and you destroy the motor. I mean, you're told, don't go in there to wash, it's dangerous, and particularly if you have a client, even yourself as a driver could be dangerous. So is there any instance where you've had to reprimand or verbally talk to somebody in regards to their abusing their vehicle?
Yeah, we've actually do reprimand our drivers for if they go through, like you say, if they go through a wash. When that's usually the big thing for remonstrance, because everybody's trying to hurry up and get through. And if there's, like, the bumper comes off, they'll take part of the cost to replace that bumper. That's reprimand. And it does state in there, we do have a vehicle policy that the drivers sign as part of their orientation when they come on, and it states in their vehicle policy that any damages to the vehicles, if it's at your fault, you're going to take part responsibility for that cost of those vehicles. So there's that. If it's one incident, I will bring them in and we'll talk to them and say this is what's going to happen. If there's a second incident, then you should get a write-up, and then they're either suspend it for 3 days. And it's just because, again, the drivers, they make their money on the road. If they don't have that vehicle, they're not going to be making that money. So it's the 3 days is kind of for them to reflect on the decisions they're making. We also have the GPS, so when they go through something, if they hit a speed bump at a certain amount of speed, my phone and will indicate a behavior in driving. So when they go through a wash, and if it hits the wash, it'll show up on my phone, and I'm able to look through our system and see, okay, yeah, you were going, and it'll show me their speed and how far they're going, and that also will determine the severity of the write-up for that driver.
You raised some good points as far as having a vehicle policy in place, but also an introduction or orientation to your drivers. Okay, this is what the company is, and this is your responsibility, because it should be a two-way street sometimes, or most of the time, because these employees are working for I Hope or I Group, and so they have to take some responsibility as far as their vehicles. And it's just like leasing a cab. That's your cab. You're responsible, and but also GPS. You have GPS on your vehicles?
We do.
And which is good. I mean, if you want to keep track of your wife or your husband, you can put a GPS your boyfriend put a GPS on their vehicle without them knowing, so you know where exactly they're at, or they're catch them in a lie. So there's this new, maybe it's not new, but a cam, vehicle cam. Are you considering putting vehicle cams on your vehicles?
Probably not, just because some of the liability that we have through access, like confidentiality, the HIPAA, and sometimes they want to share stuff, but I'm probably not right now.
I mean, it's basically for upfront.
Viewing?
Yeah, it's another, I guess
Form of GPS.
So for you, you have it on you have vehicle cams on your law enforcement. Yeah. That makes a stop. That way you catch what's with the interaction of who you stopped, and those kinds of things. It's not inside the where you're looking at your clients. It's not that way. It's just in case there's an accident, it's a question of hey, what's not my fault? It's it's that cow suddenly came out a horse and a cam caught it. So
it's not a bad idea. It's something that I will definitely think about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of technology out there, like the GPS, like you said, and let's go into customer service, lack of customer service. Of course, there's always a challenge here on the nation as far as programs having lack of customer service. So they try to do all these things to, obviously, I Group, I Hope, you guys are a business. If you're going to be successful in any business, you have to have customer service, because that's the key. If Wayne comes pick me up and doesn't say anything, hurry up, I'm in a hurry, get in. I mean, what is that? I mean, that's my first impression of Wayne, is that, man, what's up with him? He must have a lousy day. But even though he's having a lousy day, and maybe some of you guys did, I mean, your reflection of how you're going to treat that client is going to be a reflection of the company. And then who's going to hear about it? You're not going to hear about it. It's going to be your manager. So tell me something about customer service. How does I Hope look at customer service? What is their position? I see the whole mission statement here. It says our mission is to provide safe and secure transportation service for all our clients, which ensure on, what's that? Time delivery of our client to their medical and behavioral health appointment. Most important, clients will be treated courteously and with respect. I think it's a great mission statement if you're going to be dealing with customers and having your clients. So tell me about, I'll ask you, then Javier, you can jump in and tell me what is your thoughts, and
For us, I push customer service on our drivers a lot because again, the drivers, their means of income is to capture those clients. So, in order to maintain those clients, you want to make sure that you're always courteous to us. So I push it a lot. We do have bi-weekly meetings, and that's one of the key things I always push in there. Customer service. Greet your clients, open the door for your clients. It's really big as far as I hope. We push it a lot with the drivers to go out and just interact with the clients. We do not only here, but I think in some of the other events that we've done, we try to promote that, we're not only just drivers, we're also out here for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And, in your own community, my mom, she's actually from Gavo'o, and nobody wants to volunteer for any of their fee stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, we volunteer a lot in that district, even though I'm not from that district.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's, so our company, we volunteer a lot for different events, and it's part of that customer service to give back to the nation, let them see, we're not, just here for that. So we do a lot of that. And like I said, we do push customer service on our drivers to greet your clients, open your door for your clients, take their groceries in, and if there's any complaint, we do get, I'm not saying it's all great, we do get complaints. From some of our drivers. So we do try to address those situations immediately with the driver. As soon as we get a complaint, we address it. What's going on. If they're having a bad day, I usually send drivers home. Go home, relax, whatever is going on, whatever personal issues you have going on, deal with it, come back tomorrow and start fresh. Because I believe my drivers do know that they are the image of I Hope when they go out there. They're the ones who are representing the company, because I can't stand out there all day and we're I Hope, and give them our story. They're gonna make our story for us.
Yeah, exactly. So, if they're having a bad day and their first impression to the customer is that, it's not just their first impression of Fernandez, for example, or Diane or the driver. That's for all of iGroup. So I think it's important for all drivers to understand that they represent our company, and part of their handbook kind of states that when they hire on, we give everybody a handbook, and it states that. And one of the things that I want to implement is trainings, monthly trainings, and in these trainings I want to really start to implement taking care of the vehicle and going into more detail and filling out the trip sheets and how to deal with customers, just a little bit of everything. And we have some drivers that are better at certain areas than other drivers. So in these trainings, I would like to eventually implement having our actual drivers give us tips on what they do to, for example, if Diane's strength is customer service, then I will ask Diane at the training to touch on what makes her customer service and how does she just ask some questions so that it helps all the other drivers to kind of have her same mentality. If we have another driver, for example, Fernandez, if Fernandez is really good with vehicles, then we will ask Fernandez to give his side of how it is that he maintains his vehicles, etc. Because in the end, the drivers are iGroup. I sit in an office, nobody sees me. They might talk to me every once in a while, but that's just on the other side of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, our drivers are iGroup.
Diane, let me ask you, you've been a driver for, you said how long?
4 years, almost 4 years. Well, past 4 years.
4 years. You talk all of them?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How many of you talk all of them?
Understand it better than speak it.
Okay. Fernandez, you talk all of them?
No.
No. It's just a general question. So,
Philip, obviously, our liaison.
right,
speaks
Philip
really
does.
well.
So Diane, you've been a driver for 4 years, so you work with Autumn majority of the time, right? Your
Yes.
clients are Autumn.
Mhm.
So how do you look at customer service? I mean, you're the driver. How do you look? What's your view on customer service?
Well, first of all, I talk a lot. So
Okay,
it's just
yeah.
natural for me just to start talking to them and kind of get a feel for who they are.
Mhm.
And somehow they just end up telling me everything.
So you kind of,
Yeah.
kind of their psychiatrist.
Right. Well, it goes both ways. They listen to me and I listen to them, and I just generally like people. I'm a people person.
So since you talk autumn, do you kind of like, for me, if I know that they talk autumn, I kind of slowly started going into talking autumn. Do you ever do that?
I always talk about them.
So you always talk, but most of your clients talk autumn.
Uh-huh.
But in what section are you in?
Before I used to be on the government managers, so
Yeah.
I would deal with a lot of the elders, and a lot of them know my families, and so it's just more easier. It's just
Yeah, so there's that kind of community connection as far as knowing, hey, that's Diane. I feel
Yeah.
comfortable now.
well. Then I kind of grew up in managers.
Okay.
I had an aunt there that had a relationship there, so we would go there every summer.
Mhm.
So I know these people.
Okay.
I know these people, and so it's just easy for me
Right.
to communicate with them. And people that I don't know, I just start talking to them, just kind of tell them who I am, where I came from, and then they just start telling
Yeah.
me.
That's great. I like that. I mean, as far as, I think that's what's important about what I mentioned from the beginning is that, mostly everybody knows everybody. And so you have that kind of community connection, or you're related to them, so your clients feel more comfortable, say, hey, I'm going to call Angela, I'm going to call Wayne, call Fernandez, So you kind of create that kind of relationship and client base. I mean, that's the reason why I think it's, if you're dealing with all of them, it's good to have that kind of communication, like you said, you like to talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes, easy to talk. Maybe you're not a stranger, but it's easy more to talk to a stranger than a family member. But you don't. I guess you don't cross the line of getting too personal.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think so. So Angela, which area do you?
I come from Pacifico, and I mostly work from the west side.
So what's your thoughts on customer service as a driver? How long have you been a driver?
It'll be a year on December 12th of this month.
Okay. So are you a people person or?
Well, no, I'm kind of shy. Well, when I graduated high school, I was a really shy person.
Right.
But after high school, I held various receptionist positions, so I had to break out of my shell, and
Right.
because they were like the first person they had to deal with was me coming in. So customer service for me is really important. I mean, not everybody or nobody wants to deal with someone who's going to have attitude with them. So I think it's really important. And as far as driving, pretty much introduce yourself, and then like my other positions I've held, I like to help them to get in and out of the vehicle, and at times I've had to escort them inside the building, or even just wait with them at their appointments, and so I think it's really important.
So in a way, this like you said you were shy. In a way, this job kind of brought you out of being more interconnected with others, and kind of took you out of that shell. If you give the right tools and the right training to an autumn who are still in their shell, they'll come out of it because they have that experience and that tool that they can use, and they're more confident. Because sometimes having confidence is associated with how you deal with work or people.
Yeah.
And so obviously you've gained some confidence to say, yeah, okay, is there a greet of hello, or is it just more of a my name's so-and-so?
Usually I'll introduce myself and tell if I don't know who they are,
Right.
and then they'll say where they come from or who they are, and then they'll conversate after that.
I think it's good to express yourself, and you ever go in QT and they say, hey, how you doing? All right. Even if you're having a lousy day, they always tell you, hey, how you doing? A good customer service, this even if the cashier is busy, you'll still say hello. Is there anything you want to add on as far as maintenance of your vehicles? Because I think it's good to note is that there has been there has been customer service complaints, But also, I think our viewers need to understand, those that know perhaps or use transportation, is that your drivers are only human. They make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. It's not perfect, but it's good to know that the company does. If they're a customer service, they just don't ignore it. But you're saying that there is a process of making sure that the complaint is heard. They should have a number for the call, or you have a sticker on your car, or whatever, if there is a complaint. I know we can talk about customer service a long time, but I think it's good for our viewers to understand that there is a process, and some of these drivers, like you mentioned, that if you can try to implement some orientation or improve an orientation, or get some of your drivers like Diane or Fernandez, who is dealing, okay, this is what I do when I deal with irate clients and getting mad. I say, hurry up, I got to get my appointment, and said, those kind of things, because I think it's good to know, because sometimes it's good to hear from the drivers. What are their thoughts? Well, what are your thoughts on customer service? How we should, or what are your thoughts on this? Because they're the ones that are out there dealing with the autumn. How does your companies make money? So there's two things: how your company gets money and how these guys get paid.
Yeah, so our license before October 1st was just with the Axis. So what we do is we bill Axis for their rate that they have established. And anybody can look at this. It's on the Axis website. It's public information. So our drivers get a percentage of that. So their pay is based on mileage. The pay is not based on approved mileage. It's based on mileages. When we bill, if there was a denied, they still get paid for that.
Let me stop you there. What do you mean denied? What is how?
So sometimes Access will do a payment, and Access will deny it for just a number of reasons. Either the client they took had a different insurance, or the client that they took, say, was for physical therapy, but Access only allowed this amount of services for transportation services. They'll deny the claim. So like I said, with the state of Arizona, they're under their transportation guidelines is that the drivers have to get paid for their runs that they've done, even if the company didn't get paid for it or not. So the drivers, they are, I do tell them again when we do orientation, there is a form that they can do for themselves to record their own miles. So if they ever had any discrepancies in their pay, they can come to me, because I'll be the finalization of their miles, and say if they have a discrepancy in their pay, they will say, hey, this is what my records show. Why am I not getting paid for this? Then I can pull up through our Excel or whatever it is, and we can go through it, and then we'll go through it. If there was a discrepancy, that'll get solved still the same day. If there was shown that there was payment not fully made, then the owners, they usually write a check for that driver for that amount.
Okay, yeah, I think it's good to understand that the parameters of you're not just out there just to be out here. You have certain regulations that you're regulated by the state, but also how your drivers get paid, and for your drivers to understand, hey, why didn't I get paid for these miles? That I racked on a lot of miles. Well, it's not so much my fault. It's the guidelines as far as access.
I've only had one occasion where somebody came in and said, hey, I didn't get paid for this. And it was just because of the paper. It was like nothing really. It was just, they did get paid. But if the driver comes in, say Wayne comes in and he says, hey, I drove 1,500 miles, and when I calculate my stuff for my pay rate, it shows I'm missing X amount of miles. So I'll go into the Excel, because my Excel spreadsheet does calculate their total miles. It'll total up their miles, and then it'll total up that miles into dollar signs per pre-tax. So I'll say, well, this is what you have pre-tax. Let's look at what you have. And then I have another spreadsheet that shows each run he did and miles he did those days. So if he had his documentation, I'll take his documentation and I'll go through what I have recorded in our system, and go back and forth until we find that. And then when I find it, I'll call the owners and say, hey, you know what? Wayne didn't get paid for this. It's showing that it's on there, but for some reason he didn't get processed. And they'll issue him a check. And if I have a driver in Tucson, because our main office is located in Tucson, I'll have somebody pick it up and he'll get paid.
Okay, well, I mean, that's good to know that even though if Access isn't paying a certain fee on the transport, that that I hope is willing to pay him the mileage.
Yeah, and again, like I said, it's through the state of Arizona. It's one of the laws that they have.
Okay.
As far as transportation, that the drivers are. That's one of the things in the United States.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, that's good to know for our viewers that there is there is some state regulations here that you do, that not just I hope, but any transportation. So, but that goes for iGroup as well as as far as how you guys get paid.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
As far as your drivers getting paid, Fernandez and Diane, for mileage.
Correct.
And do they pay? Does your company still pay them even though?
Yes, there's exceptions. So what happens is they turn in not only their trip sheets but a log. It's kind of like an overview, how many miles they ran, how many, what kind of gas how much gas they turned in and everything else. So by the time they turn in that paperwork, they pretty much know how much they're getting back. And the only difference is, let's just say, and this is rare, but let's just say that they transport somebody who is not on Access and they forgot to do their homework to make sure that they're on Access. They shouldn't have transported that person in the first place. Then we both lose there, because not only do we lose gas mileage and wear and tear on the vehicle, but they also lose their time and effort for trying to make that transport. But that's the only exception where we will not pay them, because we don't get paid. If the client does qualify for the Access and everything else, but Access denies us, our drivers still get paid.
Your company making money is through Access. So if your drivers, pull up and transport somebody that is an Access eligible, your company doesn't get paid. So your driver doesn't get paid as well.
Correct.
Okay, so
they have to do their homework before they transport.
Yeah, but that kind of falls on both of you as far as your orientation of, hey, letting we told you, if you transport people with no Access, you're not going to get paid. So, or is yours different?
Ours is different. Like I said, our drivers, because sometimes they, again, everything happens here. If they want to verify information on on a client's information, if their Access, they'll just call here with their information, because we have access to the database here, so we're able to look it up. If I'm not available, then what happens if they still do the transport? They still get paid for it, because again, like I said, through the state of Arizona, any driver that's driving, they still have to get paid regardless if the company doesn't get paid. And we're not trying to pay the state back for anything. So if the drivers do a transport and they didn't know that the client was not Access eligible, they'll still get paid for that service.
Our drivers will call us and ask us for the information. That they'll say, "Can you give me information on so and so?" And we'll reply, "Yes, this person qualifies," or "No, this person has, United Health insurance," or whatever the case may be. So we do. When I say they need to do their homework, they just need to check in with us that this client that they're transporting does qualify for a transport.
And it's good to know. I mean, as far as having a dispatch, so to speak, in your drivers, knowing if they're not, some of your clients have Access cards, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are the drivers required to ask for it, or are they just?
It is as part of the sheet that they do fill out when they come in. If they don't have the Access card, we can look up through the database with their legal full name and a date of birth. So
Okay.
we don't find that then. Like I said, prior from October 1st, we were just doing Native American access. But when Simpatico took over the integration with Simpatico, October 1st, because we have the license, we extended that. So now we take everything underneath the umbrella of Simpatico, which is Mercy Care, University Care, Kodak, Medicaid. So those other services we're able to provide for the Autumn. So, and with those, the services that are eligible for, those are a lot more than what Access would provide.
So we're going to kind of wind down here, but I want to touch on some Pedico, and then I'm going to talk to your drivers. So I know iHope has a contract with some Pedico, not only Access but some Pedico, and some Pedico is I know they have contracts. I mean, they're all over as far as here in Arizona and with the other tribes. So what does that mean for iHope as far as having that contract?
Well, as far as for us to have this contract, it's really good for us in the nation, because one of the key things for Simpatico here in the nation is crisis calls.
Mm-hmm.
So with all this stuff that happens, like with kids' behavioral health, it's a lot with behavioral health. It's kind of why the key where we got the Simpatico. We were dealing a lot with crisis calls through the nation. Simpatico, this is why Wayne travels to Yuma and Parker a lot. It's underneath the Simpatico for crisis calls. Just recently, this was the beginning for the Simpatico, was strictly for those kinds of calls. And then when October 1st came and they switched over and they were able to integrate all the other stuff in there,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of opened the door for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the nation has the contract with Simpatico for behavioral health,
Right.
and for the nation, for NurseWise. And so that kind of ties us into, okay, well, this is the company you're going to call. If you, again, everything's public. If you go on to the Arizona Healthcare Complete provider form, you can see our companies listed for the southern part of Arizona for these kinds of calls. So this kind of also falls under the Simpatico contract as far as their stuff too. So we did have a contract with them, but from November 1st, after the selection, we couldn't transport those anymore. So right now we're still transporting for crisis for this Simpatico.
Right, and I think it's good to have our viewers understand that. Is that you weren't on the 5 that was contracted, but I know iGroup was. But it's important that our viewers know that you have a contract with Simpatico, and it is a big service for the nation and its members. But iGroup, you only have access, right?
Right now we currently only have access. However, we have had Simpatico in the past. I didn't know this. The owner and I were talking about that, and he said we had that in the past, and it looks like we're going to go back to applying for that again after we get through this rough spot that we've hit here.
Just what I said. I think it's good to know for our viewers, for those that use Simpatico or Access, particularly from these two companies, that they're not on the list. But I'm going to ask some questions, or maybe since we're winding down here, as far as the drivers, because as I mentioned from the beginning, is that iGroup, iHope employs Autumn, and currently they're unemployed. And let me just raise one other thing, is that the nation, we through our lives we make mistakes, and we break the law. Then we become felons. Maybe in our younger years, and but we go through it, and that's just life in general. We make our mistakes, and but we pay for it in the long run. I think we try to encourage our kids not to make those kind of mistakes, because it does impact them It's later in the years to come. The nation doesn't hire felons. That's my understanding. They don't hire felons. So that's a challenge as far as all of them getting jobs and those who have a felony background. But I hope does, I can say does hire felons, and they're giving these all of them the opportunity to be a part of the community and helping transport some of these clients. And they've changed their life around, so now they have families or single parents and have their own responsibilities of having kids, things like that. So we just don't know, I don't know any of these people, any of these drivers, but I'm sure they have their own stories as far as if they do have a felon, and what it means to them to have actually have a job and actually get paid, and actually changing their life. It could be like, if you have a drinking problem and you stop drinking but you can say, hey, I was an alcoholic and I stopped drinking. Those are the kind of things that you change your life around to make your life better. So I'm going to start off with Mr. Lopez here, Wayne. Since you've had this job, what does this job mean to you now as somebody who's currently unemployed, but what did it mean to you when you had this job?
Having a job was, it's always something that I've always done, was serving people. My background is law enforcement and public safety. And doing that, just being there for people and, taking people to places and, getting to know them. It's just always been something that I've always been comfortable with, and just being able to talk to people and learn stuff from people. Just like they said, we transport a lot of elders and older people, and things I have questions with. I'll ask them, and they'll teach me. Even on the road, I'll be learning stuff on the road. And like I said, I understand all of them, but I can speak it I don't speak it as much. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so cautious of saying something wrong and getting yelled at by an elder, and so I don't really speak it. But if I have questions or some of the clients I take them, they speak out them and I understand what they're saying. Then I respond to them in what little out them I know, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, well, you're learning, it's fine." Mm-hmm. But when they start going talking out, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, and but a lot of them understand, and a lot of people know who I am and they know where I come from, and so it's real easy to get that bond and talk to people, and a lot of people will say, weren't you working here? And I was like, yeah, I used to a long time ago, but I don't do that no more. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, glad you have a job, and being out of work for almost 3 years, and not being able to provide for my family and my kids, and it was tough. It was tough, and then when I finally got the opportunity to get a job, and it was a good feeling being able to provide for my kids and give them something. And this past 4 months that I've been with the company, and ever since all this went down, it's back to square one, back to square one, and it's tough. It's tough, and my kids are getting older. I got an 11-year-old, and I got a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and it's things ain't cheap nowadays, and it's really tough, but just every time I talk to them, I just let them know, it's I can't do much, but I'm here,
Exactly.
I'm here, but it's just hate being out of work, being out of work for so long and getting an opportunity, and boom, it's gone again. And but it's just some things that we go through, and they ask me, why don't you go back to law enforcement? I told them I can't, because of my background. Mm-hmm. I can't. And one of my daughters, she remembers, I remember we used to drive around and used to see you this and that, and it's like, well, I can't do that no more. Mm-hmm. I can't do it no more because of my background, and I just gotta find work where I can. And when I've finished with my my legal stuff, I did try to apply for donation and, just for little things, janitor work, HTS, just numerous of things, and getting denied every single time, and even trying to apply at TUA for a custodian position. I still wouldn't get that because of my background. But yeah, just going through all that red tape and being denied, and it was frustrating. It was frustrating, and I just having that thought of throwing in the towel and giving it all up and doing what you got to do, and I got pretty stressful. Got pretty stressful, and then I heard about this company, and I was like, you know what? I'll just give it a shot, and I was like, yeah, you know what? But I've been denied so many times, and who knows? I'll get denied again. And so I said, screw it, I'll do it. So I did it, and waited a while, and got a call, and so I came in and did I guess it was orientation. I wasn't told if I was hired or anything. I just told to come in to get talked to. So I was like, oh crap, something came up. So came in and sat with Roberta and did all the paperwork and stuff, and I was like, I have no vehicles right now. I'm like, so what? So I got a job, and she was like, oh yeah, you're hired. And I was like, oh crap. So I was like, good, cool. And it was like this, just happy feeling, and knowing that you're able to provide for your kids again, and it was great. It was just one of those feelings where you just wanted to go for a run. I don't run that much, but do something. Jump for joy, scream, or do something. But I'm like I've told Roberta in the past, I'm grateful for this, this opportunity, being able to provide, and then all this stuff happens, and it's like, it's all taken away from you. But other than that, the job, I love the job, being able to be out there and help people out and take them places and where they need to go. Every now and then we have somebody who's upset, or either we have a bad day, and we just gotta suck it up and do what we gotta do our job, and help them out.
Right. Well, thank you, Wayne. You have said quite a bit in regards to. I give you a lot of credit for, sharing that as far as your mistake that you made, and turning your life around, and trying to take care of your kids. And but like I said, life is a learning experience, and but life continues.
Yeah, that's what I've always told myself. It happened, and it's in the past. Just keep moving forward and do what you got to do, provide for yourself and your family. And that's what I've been doing, or tried to do, until all this went down.
So Jessica, how many years have you been?
I've been here for more than 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Almost 3.
So what would you like to share?
Well, when I came, when I was told to come in, like, I barely turned in my application, and I got a call saying my cousin called me and said that, do you have your application? Did you do it? I said, not yet, but I have it. And then they wanted me to turn it in, so I did. But I was just home before that. I was trying to just stay home, but I couldn't just stay home. So when I got the job here, it felt good, because it was new to me, and but I got to like it, and I started going. I started off slowly, then after that I was busy. Like, I had my own schedule all week.
Mm-hmm.
I was busy, and I always had a run, mostly every day. I had a run, and it was good. I was providing for my kids. Like Wayne said, things aren't cheap anymore, and I have a 9-year-old, and I have a 10-year-old who's gonna be 11, and I have a 17-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always depending, because Roberta tells them how much I get paid. So I say, when are you getting paid? When are you getting paid? And then when this all happened, I told my kids, like, like, I'm not working, and they're like, so what are you gonna do? I said, I don't know yet. Well, we'll just wait to see. So, and then like that, it was like hard after that, and I didn't know like whatever was going on. I had no idea, and I just barely got a car, and
Oh, it's too bad.
and then that Monday we heard that, our last day's Wednesday. I was like, what? I just got a car. I just opened a bank account, and it was just all like, so now it's struggling.
Were you a single parent?
Yeah, but my kid's father had passed away this year. But
Oh, sorry to
do
hear
have
that.
my boyfriend stays with me, and he helps me. Well, he don't have a job, but he helps me with my kids because usually when I'm at work, I don't come home till like 8, 9, 10, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock sometimes in the morning. But he's there with them, so.
Well, that's good. I mean, it says a lot as far as, I mean, I think there's really what has occurred, a big lack of understanding to the impacts of, you guys, Wayne, you, as far as, putting an application in and turning it in and then gaining more confidence in your work. And you're probably kids got used to it, like you said, well, mom was going to bring out some money and get this and that. And, especially if you're 9 or 10 years old and somebody that's your 17-year-old that's, and of course everybody wants a cell phone, so those kind of things, and plus buying a car too. I mean, it's without a job and having this job, you were given the opportunity to buy a car.
Yeah, I was. And it was like, yeah, I could do it. And then it was just like
So you're excited about that?
Yeah, I was excited because I said I should have did it a long time ago, but I decided to do it. And then like the next week we found out where we weren't going to be working.
Well,
Or we didn't get selected or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now without a job?
Yeah, and I think it's good for our viewers to hear you and to know that you've taken that responsibility, and and I'm sure there are other stories out there that other Altam have taken that big step and gotten a job and changed their life and have a different attitude toward working. And like you said, you work long hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't do that. I go to bed with the chickens. So it's, and yeah, of course, having your kids are going to school clothes, things like that. Opening your bank account, to me, that's would be exciting. Then all of a sudden, you're just like your balloon busts. Yeah. So, but I certainly hope that things do change around. But thank you for sharing that. So let me turn to Fernandez. How long you been a driver, Fernandez?
I think like 4.5 years maybe.
That's a long time. You kind of started with the company, huh? So what? So share us your thoughts on what is since iGroup was not selected.
Before this company, I was working with public safety as well with Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
And after I resigned from there, I was just home. I was coaching baseball through the rec.
Mm-hmm.
And then Phil and Joe had gave me a message. Give him a call. Because I've run into him off and on, out and about, and he asked me if I was working. I said no, and if I was looking, I said yeah. Well, I wasn't really serious at the time because I was, focusing on coaching with Little League.
Mm-hmm.
And then he called me one day, and he asked me if I was busy, and I said no. No, I called him, and then he asked me that, and if I wanted to work, and I said yeah. And then he told me to come by and pick up a vehicle. Already? So I went and picked it up, and I started that next day. Then I've been working with them, and then I went to Tillyway for about 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I got laid off with some other guys, and then I went back with them. And I think like another year. And then I got rehired again at Tillyway. And then if they were like, gonna get laid off again, so I was like, thought that was gonna be permanent, full time. So I went back to the company, and I've been here ever since. And then when I heard about this going on, about the selection, and I only thought it was, my daughter. I have a 5-year-old daughter. Whenever I come like, yeah, I used it for her. Most of it goes to her. I just keep a little for myself. And then I was just thinking about my clients, like people that I met, that I've got close to know, close to you, and gotten to know. And there's one right now that I got real close to him. Well, he's a family friend from a long time ago. And I was surprised to see his condition. I mean, well, yeah, he's good to go and on, but just seeing him in that state, just made me feel bad for him. And when he heard about us not being selected, he was questioning me all kinds, like I had to answer, but I was just trying to tell him, I'll let you know. And then when this actually happened, I thought it was just a rumor. We usually hear a lot of rumors about this is going to happen, that's going to happen, but it never happened, so I just looked at it as a rumor. Then when it actually happened, and then that's when he really questioned me. And then I called him here and asked him about it. But I tried to go pick him up, but his wife came out and told me that somebody else was picking him up from another company. I said, oh, okay, and then I didn't think anything else off it. And then I just recently heard from another one of our drivers that the neighbor to this guy was telling him that he hasn't been going to dialysis. I guess he's having problems with whoever company he's supposed to be picking him up. And then I'm just wondering, I hope he's, for his sake, his health, wondering if I can just go over there and pick him up. Well, I called his wife and I asked him about it, and she said that, yeah, she would, but he didn't want to get in trouble with senior services or get them in trouble, being that, we're not one of the 5. And then I just asked her, what matters, it's him, I can deal with that one way or another. It's just getting him to and from dialysis. And then I never heard from her after that. And then still trying to work. At the same time, kind of hesitant to come into sales, thinking we're going to get in trouble. And the last rumor I heard was that if we were in sales, that we were going to get our vehicles towed if they spotted us or steal us or... But, I didn't, it didn't bother me. I was just thinking about my daughter, and how else am I going to support her? I'm still going to go anyway. I'll call Javier, I'll call Diane, or Philip and find out what, this is what I heard, what was said. But, I'm still here, I'm still driving. I'm still getting paid with what I make. As far as, trying to get my old clients back, but I think I lost the majority of them to the other companies. Just gotta wait around for somebody to call or find somebody around here and there, but so-and-so is coming or so-and-so's gonna pick me up. And then they'll call the last minute, and they didn't come by, are you available? But I already got somebody right now. And I'll call you next time, but it never happened.
Well, thank you for sharing, because it's kind of sad that you became close to somebody you knew from years ago, and as far as your condition, but also I'm hearing you have some, you begin to hear from other clients as far as those with diabetes, not getting to their appointments, and as far as your child and providing care for her. I think that, same with Jessica as far as, having kids and that responsibility, but having jobs and then being laid off, and, your interaction being a Little League coach. Even that says a lot as far as, as I mentioned before, that, we just don't know that person until they share their story as far as background and what they've done for their community or for their children. or what they feel about, their being a driver and having these kind of contact, that you didn't know about your friends from years ago in the condition. And you become more sensitive to when you start meeting Ottoman there and their some of their challenges, particularly in the health area. So, and you become more connected and caring about, wow, this is, sometimes your own worries, and you see somebody else that theirs are bigger than yours, and then you got to be grateful, and you got to, that you're okay. So Diane, I know you shared a little bit as far as customer service. I'm sure you have something to add.
Well, I started with this company a little bit before Fernandez. I was helping Philip under the table, taking his clients while he was taking his sister personally. And next thing I knew, a couple weeks later, they told me to apply. So I applied, and then a week later, I'm supervisor. I felt I couldn't communicate with business people, or I couldn't, talk to people, And so it was a real challenge for me. But then I just fell into it, and I just ended up, enjoying working. And then I was taught some stuff, how to do this and how to do that. And I had my aunt, which she was working for a different company. She taught me how to do multiple clients and when to leave my house, where to go first. And so I started to learn more and more, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed working, and it taught me a lot. I'm not a graduate, but they gave me this chance, and now I think sometimes I can go forward and finish my school. And then even in the CPR and all that stuff, I feel like I can move forward and become a CNA. That's what I was thinking during this time that we had not working. But I've been through a lot myself personally. And my kids are older, but I have grandkids.
Right.
And so I take care of these grandkids. And when this happened to me, actually before that, I just got married recently, almost a year. And my brother-in-law passed away. And so I was their speaker, their spokesperson, and I was away from this company for almost 3 weeks at the most, and then he passed away. And then I came back, and then only to become homeless for a couple weeks. And I didn't know where to go. And so when I found a place to go and we settled down, and then when I get ready to come back, and this is what happens. And so I've learned a lot from where I was before, because I was not in the right position before, but I paid all my dues with my family, with my friends, and so it's really hard, and I know how hard it is for all of us, not to have a job and to wonder where we're gonna get the next money, what's gonna happen. And I too got a vehicle the good thing about it is that I bought it from the company. I was given a chance to buy a vehicle that they were gonna, get rid of, and it's a really good vehicle, and so I'm able to hold on to the payment until I can get back on my feet.
Right.
So I've really learned a lot, and I stand with all these drivers, and I understand where we're coming from or where we came from. And the good thing about working is that you need to know where you came from, and so it'll be easy for us to deal with a lot of issues. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, you've said a lot in regards to that. This seems to this company, sort of like Angela and Jessica, is that it opened opportunities. It opened gave you confidence. Like you said, you weren't to graduate, but you're thinking ahead that, hey, I can do this. I can become a CNA. I can become this or that.
Mhm.
Because like I mentioned, certain events happen through your life where it opens the door of opportunity, but it's up to you whether or not you want to open that door or
Yeah.
not. Like I mentioned, like I said before, if you're given the right tools and you meet the right people, because I always feel that people that the good Lord puts people in your path for whatever reason.
Mhm.
Either they give you something, or something good or something bad, but it's a learning lesson.
Yeah.
And so, obviously you have your grandkids and your kids are grown, and it's life is continuous. It doesn't end when you reach 65 or 70.
Right.
But it's up to you what you want to learn. If you want to learn more, I'm at an age where I have to learn how to work these things. So just like Luis here, my camera guy, it's good Lord put him in his path so I can do this. And without him, it'd be impossible.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that kind of technology in my head. So, but thank you for sharing that, because it does say a lot for everyone here. So, you want to share a few words?
Yeah, well, currently I'm a single mother of 4 kids. They're still babies. My oldest is 9 and my youngest is 2. It's been really rough on me because I'm trying not to go back to depending on anybody else to support my family. It's been really hard. Nowadays kids want name brand things and
Right.
stuff like that. So I learned a lot. I did some things in my past, like you had mentioned, and it's been a rough 2 years. I've been raising my kids on my own. Their father is currently incarcerated at this time, so it's been really hard on myself. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support of my family. Since this happened with us not working, it's been really hard. I probably haven't had money for this whole month, and my kids have been having a lot going on, especially with Halloween carnivals, Thanksgiving, and now Christmas. It's gonna be even harder. So I'm really hoping that our voices are heard and that they have a heart in their place to give us our jobs back.
Greatly put. It sounds like you wanted to gain your being independent.
Mm-hmm.
And I always encourage that, as far as that, particularly for a young woman, that they should be independent, that they shouldn't depend on outcome. As far as I know at a young age, you meet somebody, fall in love, you think you fall in love, but then you forget about your goals, your own goals.
Yeah.
It's better to be, have your own job, being independent. I think that's what you wanted, and to prove something for yourself, because when it comes down to it, it's about you proving yourself to yourself. Hey, I want to do a lot more with my life. I can say I had a drinking problem years ago, but it was up to me to wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm going to change my life. It was a choice. We make all choices, and you like you mentioned, you have a past, and only you know, but only you can make that difference and that change.
Yeah.
And of course, you mentioned, you didn't have to mention it, but your boyfriend's in jail. Okay, those kids, that you're responsible for, is you have taken it upon yourself. Hey, I need to work. I need to take care of my kids. You didn't wait around and say, well, I'll wait till my boyfriend gets out of jail. Then but you're working. You're trying to get an income. For, like you mentioned, Halloween, candy, Thanksgiving, and now Christmas. But I think it's good for our viewers to understand that every one of these drivers that has a story to tell. and how they arrived with either iGroup or IHOP, and also the challenges that their own personal lives have meant. Like Diane mentioned, working with this company, impacted her in some way that she is now changing or looking at a different life. But now, since they weren't selected, so, now she's got to take a detour. Okay, what do I do now? But it didn't have to happen, but it did. We need to understand more. Why did this happen? Why did this occur? That's why, I wanted to bring this to our show and let our viewers know, and hopefully you all, and I certainly appreciate my regular viewers for watching this, and sharing this story. I think is important because these are two companies with two very different stories. Foremost, it's a business. It's two companies that are working on the nation, and what they've done, what kind of impact they've done or meant to their clients, these drivers, and what they do. And but that's why I felt strong enough when I started talking with Roberta and Javier here, and I mentioned, well, bring some of your drivers, you can share their story. And I think it's great for viewers to hear personally from them, as far as I know that there are other drivers probably would say a lot more, but in regards to the impact that it's had on them not having a job. And of course, jobs here in the nation are very limited in regards to particularly those with felony backgrounds. But again, going back to what I said, I think it's great that I hope and iGroup are giving those opportunities, those individuals that have felons, because certainly they've changed their life around. And I'm just, we can probably sit here for another hour and talk, and I can ask some other questions. But I think you have the basic idea of my introduction to these two companies, and also hearing from these from the drivers. And you have 5 of them from various districts that have served our communities and are not continuing to wanting to work. And you've heard from Jessica, you've heard from other people that just could buying a car, having a bank account. I mean, to me, that would be exciting, is buying a car, you getting from point A to point B. And you have to have a car to drive around, but you got to have money to pay, put in gas. Then also with the kids, and you're from Fernandez, who's a community active as far as Little League and things like that. And all those are hard to find as far as coaches, having somebody there to teach our kids or play with them sports. And of course, Wayne and everybody here, they have their stories in regards to, working for these two companies. So I'm hoping that you share this story. But again, I'm very appreciative to everyone, our viewers watching our show. So, but I want to thank each and one of you. And like I said, I could sit here all day and probably ask you more questions. And if you have any other questions, or maybe have some concerns or anything, you can contact Roberta here, and we'll put her number down or any information that she can share on our show. And also with Javier, we can have them provide that information as well. So if you have any other questions or even comments or concerns to them, or even just to talk to them and get further information. And so, but like I mentioned, it's, to me, it's heartbreaking, and to listen to this, particularly from our these awesome drivers. And I don't know them, but just hearing their story, it's very touching, particularly from these 3 ladies, to mention the men here, but having kids and having their responsibility of taking care of theirs, and probably being honest about what their feelings are. and also having that kind of communication and cohesiveness with their clients, and becoming more friends and learning, like Wayne said, maybe learning some autumn and having more understanding from their elders. So again, thank you for joining us today. And from myself, Tohono Impressions, this is our last show, and certainly we want to thank you all for those that have viewed our number of segments. We want to thank our past guests, Assistant Pete Delgado on housing. We had the two Mr. and Mrs. Eckerman, and who brought their 7-year-old child and their story. And I forgot the other young gentleman's name. What's the other gentleman's, Luis? Anyway, he was going to Australia. He was ready and brought his story on. Of course, we brought on Bonnie from U.S. Border Patrol, and to share the ports of entry there for Marina. I want to thank Ms. Ann Rodriguez from Recorder's Office. I wanted to share that information as far as voting, the importance of voting, that information. I think that's pretty, if you're going to go on to, that's, I know we didn't get too much people on the internet that, but I think it's very important for autumn voters to look at that and know what the process is as far as early voting and voting. And also Josiah Moore from ASU, and sharing that kind of information as far as going to ASU and his own thoughts on education. I think that was a really good interview as far as with Jacob. And so it has a lot that it was a good interview. We went up there to the campus, and we're very thankful appreciative to Josiah Moore for doing that. And who else there was there? At least forget someone who's.
I think that's pretty much it.
And but also, like I mentioned before, God put people in your path. So I'm really thankful for my camera guy, my editor, Luis. And so we'll get his face on the camera. And so, but we've become friends, and so. But we want to wish you a safe and the most happy Christmas, and with your family and friends, and also a great Happy New Year. And we're hoping to bring you a more exciting year for 2019. We have some things that are lined up for even more information, share other stories like this, and other human stories that are out there. So we're hoping to do that in the coming years next year. So again, from the Tohono Impressions, again, my name is Bill Lopez, and my camera guy, Luis. We got, let's see how we say your last name? Jimenez. So we want to wish you a safe and happy Christmas with your family again, and Happy New Year. Thanks again for joining us. Have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening. Thank you.